Okay, please. Tashi Delek, everybody. But today, I am going to give some presentation on this system of channels and chakra, mainly from a Tibetan yogic traditional point of view. And this system of channels and chakras are very important for individual spiritual development. And that is why there are actually so many commentaries on this system of channels and chakra, how these channels exist. So in Tibetan, we have a word saying sa, lung, stem, sort of like sa means channel or pathways, and lung means the energy that flows within that channels, and tigle means essence, the essence that exists in that channels. So so somehow there are so many what do you call ways to actually do the presentation, and so the source of this how this system was exist in us is sort of like we actually go to the source of Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching, and so there is like a very kind of a uncommon way of sort of like a teaching from the Buddha himself. So it is not really given as a mainstream teaching. Like many times, actually, we call it like the hidden message. So that is like sometimes we call it like a secret yana, sort of secret in a sense that it can be misinterpreted easily, and at the same time, like people can misuse that easily, and also like when we actually go into the existing of the different channels and chakras and winds, like people, like if they don't know properly how to use it, it will bring a lot of damage. And so it is kind of like it has a lot of benefit on one hand, and on the other hand, there are so many kind of like a danger of misusing it, or misinterpreting it, and also kind of like some sort of like a result that can affect sort of like a more harmful way. So it is kind of like a very beneficial, at the same time very dangerous. So that is why it is kind of not used in a sort of like a very openly sort of like a way in the Buddha's teaching. And then down the history, many master actually use that, what Buddha has taught. And then they made a commentaries, and not only just writing something about it, it is just kind of like they applied that practice, and then just kind of like from their own individual different experiences, so they made it more and more clear and clear and clear, sort of how the system of the channels and chakras exist. And so in these days we can find a lot of informations how this system of channels and chakra exist. And just kind of like today I'm just going to talk about the system. And so this presentation, I am not going to kind of like teach how to use it, okay? So I'm just kind of like from the beginning, I will be clear. Because to be able to use it, really, you need a lot of background understanding. At the same time, a lot of preparations. Many times, this system of channels and chakras, how they use it is use it in a very advanced spiritual practice called the highest yoga tantra. Like, for example, there are like a different level of tantra yana. And so just kind of the highest yoga tantra, and within the highest yoga tantra, again, like to be able to, this system is actually used for the completion stage. So there's like two stages in the individual practice. One is called the generation stage, and another one is called the completion stage. In Tibetan, we call it Kerim, Zorim. So basically, this system of channels and chakras are used to during the advanced level of completion stage. So to be able to go to that completion stage, actually, you have to have a very strong background practice of generation stage. So to be able to actually go into that generation stage, there are so many preliminary, realizations and practice and things like that. So anyway, I thought that it will be important for us to just get the basic understanding of this system of channels and chakra. And this system, as I mentioned, sort of like I will, refer it to some of the Tibetan masters who actually put this system of channels and chakra. This one great Tibetan master called the ZaChoeje Rinpoche. So ZaChoeje, like many times we kind of consider him as one of the greatest scholar in this sort of like after Lama Tsongkhapa, like ZaChoeje Rinpoche, ZaChoeje Rinpoche, he actually did a lot of practice and research and wrote a lot of commentaries on Lama Tsongkhapa's work. And so he made this like almost, I don't know how many pages. It's like a short comparing to many of the like large size commentaries. and it is he put it in a very simple way. So I will use that as a reference. And generally, what he used is, of course, he said so many things that what are the preliminaries? There are like the 5 preliminaries, starting from you have to have sort of a refuge, very strong refuge, and a bodhicitta as a basic prayer, and also to have the bodhicitta practice, you have to have a great compassion. So to have a great compassion, you have to have this kind of like a sort of your attitude, not only looking for this life only, just kind of like making it like a more wider sort of like a purpose. The purpose is not to benefit this body or this life, and just kind of like a purpose is to benefit all sentient beings. Like that is like the to have that genuine sense of taking responsibilities or helping other sentient beings. And those are the basic. So now you can understand why this practice is sort of like we cannot actually do it. We need to have a lot of strong, basic background, sort of like a practice, just kind of like genuinely to have this kind of, to look beyond, right? To look beyond this life, to look beyond yourself, to look beyond, just kind of like the whole thing. Then we need to have a very strong understanding of gone beyond wisdom, such as understanding the emptiness. And see, so there's kind of like a 2 main sort of like a thing is a relative bodhicitta, and then ultimate bodhicittas are like the 2 main things that you have to have. And that is what actually he said. So going to the system of the channels and chakra. So basically, he used the word, there's a Tibetan word, never, sa. Sort of like never means existing channels. So it's like how channels are exist in our body, in ourself. So, then for the lung energy, he used the word yoa, lung. Yoa means moving. So it is like the movement. So the moving wind. So I will use the word wind here for the energy, because in Tibetan, it always uses the word wind. So the wind is not kind of like the gross wind that we think. There's just kind of like and generally, if you really look into it, what is the difference between air and wind? Right? It is just air is different from the wind, and wind is different from the, so it is the wind is more sort of like the force or the movement of the air. That is so the sort of like that is the wind. So here they use the word never sa, means existing channel, and yoa lung means movement or moving wind. Yoa lung. And this then kueba, there's another word for kueba, pigle or changchu sem. So drop, there's like a interestingly, they use the word, Tibetan word used, pigle means drop. So it is like the kueba means, so it also has a very interesting meaning. Kueba means sort of like arranging, sort of like an arrangement, sort of like arranging drop. So this is a basic kind of like, if you look at the system, so that is like from your understanding that how the system actually exists within us, that there is a channel, which is the existing one, and then within that channel, the energy flows in there, which is the movement. And then what it moves. What it moves is it arrange. The wind will actually, when the wind actually move in the channel, what it does is it stimulates something, and it makes something which is the essence. So the essence, So these three are sort of like the basic system. Okay, so basic system that you should kind of understand. And then this existing channel, right? So it exists in us. So what is that channel? So that is first, how it was said is we have to know this existing channel, like how it is actually, how it exists in a way, sort of like how does it exist? And so this, when it is talking about the channels, sometimes people think that the channels are like the nerve, but actually channel is not a nerve. Nerve is just a physical thing, right? The physically we have a different nerve, and but the channel is like a subtle body. So there is kind of like the subtle like a existence, and the subtle existence somehow we need to understand how these channels, the sort of like there is some kind of source which is which comes, right? Sort of when this life was formed, actually how it is formed, if we understand that from the yogic tradition point of view, then we will understand how channels exist. So like the first thing, we need to actually sort of have a little bit of understanding how our being, right? How kind of like how our life began, right? How does our life begin? Sort of like the first, this life, for example, we say past life and present life and the future life, sort of like if we talk it from a three kind of time point of view, right? The past life, which is, gone, and then there is some sort of like a essence or the being or something that actually came into this life and that it formed this life, right? So this sort of like so there is a interesting way to understand the how this some sort of like a energy. Sometimes, in the Buddhist term, what we use is we use the word namshe, which is the consciousness. Okay, so the consciousness. So the consciousness is actually the essence of the kind of like the essence that we are not talking right now, the tigle, the drop. So the drop is just kind of always there. Actually, if it goes into a more very subtle, sort of like the subtle drop is what we call it mishik betigle. Mishik betigle means indestructible wind, or indestructible what do you call drop, the indestructible, sort of like something that actually comes, which is very subtle. So when it actually starting to sort of like the essence, when it is sort of like connected, so connected to this the body, sort of like the origin of this body. So this, there is like as we all know scientifically, sort of it is already sort of like we know that there is like how our this life was formed is there is an essence coming from the father side, and then the essence coming from the mother side. Sort of like there is a true essence, right, that just kind of like got there. And so this is not enough. There's a true essence actually there, but something has to come there, right? Something has to make it what do you call make it make it complete. Right? So something has to make it complete. What is that? What is that coming? Right? What is that actually sort of like a, it is not like there is a true physical, right? There's a true physical substance there, but that's not enough. There's something, another kind of like a entity, something has to come there, and that form the complete sort of like a physical life. That is the beginning, right? That's the source. That is how it all began. When these two substance in the, like the father side, mother side, when it is separately there, this is not your body, right? That's not the beginning of life. Your beginning of life, even sort of like if from the time point of view, when did it begin? Right? It just is that simultaneous when these two, like essence kind of form, is that is the beginning, sort of like from a yogic tradition point of view. No, actually there has to have some another entity has to come. That is the consciousness part. So the consciousness get there. So then when the consciousness actually kind of connect with these two essence, then that is the beginning. Okay, that is the beginning. So that at that time, there are like a, we call it like the main sort of like a Nyingar Thoma Chabet. It's like, yeah, that is the Tibetan word, means the first 8 channels that is formed, as like it is just kind of as soon as the consciousness actually get there. So that time, it is the beginning of forming, it is the beginning of the forming the channels there. So these 8 channels just kind of like basically, what is those like 8 channel? The first channels of like the 8 channel is we call it 3 what do you call 3 main channel that everybody knows, and I think you have that illustration also here, right? So we actually illustrated it like a 3 main channels, sort of. So this is actually not long in the beginning, in the beginning when it is formed, and where it is formed, that is the another question, right? Where it is formed, it is the what we call it. It is at the Nyinga. Nyinga means heart level. That is also many times people get misunderstand, because it always use the word nying, like a heart. So people think that, okay, this is inside the heart, right? But actually, if we look at our body, heart is not in the middle, right? Heart is kind of a little bit on this side, left side, right? So nyinga is a Tibetan word. There is not, nying means heart in Tibetan, but there is always another word or syllable comes with that, is called ka, nying ka. Ka means level, heart level. So the heart also sort of like, we use the heart in many different language too, right? Heart is like, oh, this is the heart of the city. Like when we say this is the heart of the city, means sort of like the center, right? The center of the city, or something like heart also means the main thing, right? Something main. So there's like many times we use the heart. So here, Nyinga means heart level. So the heart level is considered to be where it is kind of like, from there, all the kind of like the channel will actually, all the channels will sort of like form. So there is like the first, after the consciousness actually conceived or connect with the true substance of our, like the essence of our body, then the 8 channel simultaneously actually arise there. So these 8 channel, there is something in the middle, which is called the Avaduti in Sanskrit, and then in just kind of simple translation, people call it Sauma. Uma means, center channel. So center, right? Center channel. And then the central channel, on the right side of the central channel, another channel is there, and then left side of the, that channel, there's another channel is there. So there are so many different, what do you call, interpretation. Like I saw that in many Tibetans or, commentaries and things like that, there's like, if you are, if you are a female, then it is opposite. If you're a male, it is different. And also there are like from like a Vedic tradition, like ancient, like a Ayurvedic kind of tradition also, they also have this channel mentioned, the energy channel that is mentioned, sort of like I think their word is a little different, like from the yogic, Buddhist point of view, we call it avadhuti, which is the central channel. I think the Ayurvedic word is sushuma or something, sushuma, that is the central channel. And then, the left and right, I think it is like Ida or Pingala, sort of like that is like, they have a different term that they use. And then I think this, interestingly, these three channels were also mentioned in the ancient Chinese acupuncture, which is kind of like, interestingly, they also have a different name. I cannot actually say, but something, I don't speak Chinese, sort of like a Heru, Chong or something like, and their way of defining is also a little bit different. Like, in the ancient Ayurvedic tradition, they call it right and left, right? The right and left. But the Chinese tradition actually kind of say that it is like the front and back, sort of like one, the middle central channel is there, and then one is the front, one is in the back. So it is kind of like, interestingly, there are little bit ways to actually say these, the three main channels like that. And then like, I think from the, the like Ayurvedic and the, Tantric Buddhist yogic tradition, kind of same, sort of like energy, so, and then Chinese also say, like, they use the word qi, right? Qi, or like a flowing of the qi. But anyway, there is some kind of parallel, like from, I don't know how they got it, but they are kind of like, there are a lot of similarities, things like that. Anyway, so these three is like the, what do you call, channel, with these three channels, either way, I don't know, we cannot, say it is, because it is not a physical, what do you call, because it is not a physical nerve, and there are so many different way of, oh, is that really located, or we can actually see that in our body or not? There are many different. So I think you can just think that channel is like the force, or the some sort of like energy, sort of like energy, not really like, you cannot sort of take a picture. You cannot, it is, what do you call? It is very subtle that, with your, I don't know, with your naked eye, you cannot actually see. So that is like a more sort of like you can think of. So it is like a, very subtle, think like that, subtle energy. So, but sometimes when you actually, when they define about this system of the channels, they also mention the color. There's a different color associated with this. For example, the central channel is associated with the dark blue color. So it is like a dark blue color. And then the, the right channel, so central channel is avadhuti, and then in Sanskrit, and then the right channel is called rasana in Sanskrit, and Tibetan we call it roma, rasana, and then the left one is called the lalana. So it is like, so it is just kind of basically the original word is mentioned, like the 3 channels are mentioned, like Avaduti in the middle. On the right side is Rasana, and left side is Lalana. So sometimes, it is helpful with the different color, because sometimes our mind want to sort of like conceptualize with a different color, right? So it is kind of like a Rasana is like the red color, and Lalana is a left, which is the kind of white color. So why they put like a 3 different color for this subtle channel? It's just kind of, it's symbolically, the Rasana, the right side one, is the kind of like a, what do you call, the sun energy, okay? The left one, which is the white color, is the moon energy. So in a way, sort of like it also associated with some sort of like a warm, the like warmness, which is the right side, and then the left, which is the moon side, and that's sometimes it also like a little bit confusing, because because sun is male energy and the moon is the female energy, right? But then sometime in the text also says that actually the right side, the red, is the wisdom, which is the feminine energy, and the white is the male energy, sort of like, so sometimes it is a little confusing, so is it like a, maybe our conceptual mind want to think, what is it really, is there a certain thing, is there female energy or male energy? But I think just female, male, sort of like from a different function point of view, it can change. For just kind of like the function point of view, sort of like I personally think that all the human being, like whether male or female, we have that energy in us. We have that energy, and it is not something like, okay, if you are female, then the channels will be different, and the male you are a channel is different. I think it is just exists as it is, because it is just kind of like how it exists, at the heart level. So then these 3 channels sort of like there in the middle. So anyway, these are in the middle. And then there's a one channel that is go towards the east. East means front. Okay, so the east one in Tibetan, what we call it Sumkorma. So I don't know why it is called Sumkorma, but it is like the name is Sumkorma. Something, Sum means sort of like taking 3 rounds or something. Maybe how it exists is maybe it has a 3 sort of like, round thing. But then, then it goes to the, so say like this, three main channel in the center. Then in the front of these 3 channels, there is a one, which is sort of like the color also associated with that is the white. Okay, sort of like the white color channel, Sumgurma. And then another one which goes to the right of that, central, like a 3 main central channel, which is many times what we call it is Ho, means south. Okay, so it is like the east, south. So that is the color is little kind of golden yellow, kind of, sort of like a, and that kind of like we call it like Dhamma, that is the name of that channel. And then like west, which is on the, so on the west side, like there is like a, what do you call, Kimma. So that's a little bit of red color, sort of red color. And then, on the north side, which is on the right side. So now you can actually see the 3 channel is in the middle. Then on the, like, like the east, south, west, north, right? So there's a 4 direction. So the 4 direction, there is a 4 channels. And then there is another channel, which is a very subtle channel, which we call it Dutelma, which is kind of go along with the central channel, just in the center. See, now these are kind of like a minga toma chabe. It's like, yeah, means these are the 8 channel that first established as soon as our life began. That is the sort of like the beginning of our life. So this 8 channel is like the base channel. So this is the base channel, and then sort of like when we say the 8 heart chakra, right? 8 heart chakra petal is not this 8. That's a 2 different thing. That's also people get little misunderstanding because they think that this 8 channel is the 8 petal of the heart chakra, but actually it is not. It is the 8th chakra is actually coming from this 4 side. Okay, so the four side of the channel on the four direction. Then each of these 4 channels, then it has another one coming to the corner. Sort of like it stem out of the 4 directional channel. It stem out towards the corner, towards the corner. So that makes 8 petal. That is the 8 sort of like what do you call 8 spoke or 8 petal lotus heart chakra. So this is like, see, now from there you can actually understand, right, how the heart chakra is formed. So the heart chakra is formed like from the 4 sort of like the main directional channel, and then from each of the 4 direction, one stem out. Okay, one stem out into the what do you call? Into the southeast corner. One comes to the southwest corner. One comes to the northwest corner. Another one is northeast corner. See, so this 8 is a kind of like not immediately, but just after that, right? First, 8 channel already formed, and that time heart chakra is not formed. So the heart chakra formed after that, after the this stem out. Yes, yeah. Behind one, I think it is kimma. Kimma, yeah. So that's a Tibetan word. So there, yeah. So the sumgorma, dema, kimma, and then the what do you call the other, which is the north, right? Which is the north side. The north side is called the tummo. Yeah, tummo. So these are the different name for the different channels. Okay, and then the one in the middle is called the dudelma, which is goes. So this dudelma is very, actually in the highest yoga tantra, it is very useful, because normally there is sort of like for the ordinary human being, there is no wind actually energy flows in that dutelma. So some great practitioner, after they do put all the efforts and meditations and like with the like their mantra meditation and mudra, these are the like the 3 main sort of like a practice that they put, sort of like they use the meditation, and then tingezin, that is meditation means tingezin, samadhi, and then mantra, sort of like a mantra is like the verbal thing, and then mudra is the physical activity. So the meditation is applied through the mind, and then the mantra is applied through the verbal speech, and then the mudra is applied with your body. So combination of these 3. So this is why it is not just one or another, and they have to apply all together. But that's kind of like a different story, I guess. But anyway, so these, like 4 channels, like then stem out to the corner, and then what it formed, it is formed the heart chakra. So this is now we have to understand, the channel, the first channel is formed like that. And after that channel is formed, the 8th petal actually, kind of, it's starting to stem out, right? It's starting to stem out, and then like the heart chakra is formed. So this is also important, kind of like maybe right now we are just talking about the system, right? But if you understand this system very well, it will be very useful for you when, like in the generation stage of your practice, like sometimes there's like a body mandala things, so these actually the channels are very interesting, because the channels become the feminine, okay? The energy inside that channel become the male. So that is why if you look at the, many different deities, these are just a symbol. But actually, it's kind of like you have, exist, like it is already exists. These subtle channels are already exist. And then it is also important, why I'm saying this, how it is formed, because if you know how it is formed, then actually what happened is when actually sort of like when it conclude, when it actually dissolve, everything dissolve in that position. First how it is formed, and then, like when this life actually end, also how it actually goes. So that is why it will all go into, like the heart chakra, like there's those heart, what do you call, 8 petal, all that, sort of like a dissolve, become inactivate, and then it will go into the first 8, like a channel in the heart, and then it will go sort of like a, so this is a kind of like a system is how it is formed is very important. So that is why sort of like from there, but if I talk from the channel point of view, then the channel, the 3 central channel, right? The 3 central channel, what happened is the channel actually one goes up and one goes down. So that is why the 3 channels are actually made it as a 3 straight line, right? But here it is, we put it in a very straight line, but in existence, it is more complicated. So just kind of the energy channel actually exists from the center of our body, which is kind of like we call it sort of one energy goes up, and that goes up towards sort of like a, through the, like the middle of the spine, that's energy, through the middle of the spine, and until it gets to the half of our, like a kind of like about like a crown. So it is just kind of like the energy wise, the central channel, the Awadhuti, is kind of like here on this level or towards the crown, it opened towards the crown, and then one actually goes down towards the, like a 4, maybe what do you call, 4 inch below your navel, sort of like 4 inch or 4 centimeter, I don't know, we cannot say exactly, there's no measurement because every individual has different kind of size of body and things like that. So that is why if you put a centimeter things, then if you're like a very small then so there's no centimeter or anything, just kind of, that is why we call it sorshi, sort of like a, so this is like each source sort of, and also I don't know, that's just estimately. don't take it too seriously about, okay, I have to exactly know where and how many centimeter, how many inches, that's not like, just kind of like towards the tailbone. But then actually in the text also says that, these three channel, branches of these three channel, interestingly, another branches went down to your feet. Okay, so the main three channels are there, but another three sets of actually channel went down to the sole of your feet. And then another one from your left sort of sole of your feet. And then another one, just kind of in the middle towards your genitals. So this is kind of like the three channels, very interestingly, sort of like a kind of, up, down like that. And there's two other channel that goes up is, one is a little bit connected towards your right nostril. One is a little bit connected towards your left nostril. So kind of like a, just kind of, you can think of how it is exist. These three channels exist like that. And then the eight, that 8-petal heart chakra, right? 8-petal heart chakra, sort of like now, through this heart chakra, what is it doing is it is now going to spread. It's going to spread from each of the 8 channels, 3 spread. Okay, 3 spread towards the, different directions. So when these 3 spread, what happens? It become a 24 channels. Okay, 24 channels. So then from these 24 channels, sort of like another 3 steps. So it is how it is growing, right? See how it is growing. So then the more the energy channel actually grows, what happened is it is becoming more and more energy starting to flow there, and it is starting to work. So that is why kind of like, if I don't know how to do the math, just kind of like from this 24, right? The 24 channels, another 3 sets of 3 set of, how many it is that? 24 times 3, how many is that? Is that a 72? So maybe it is 72. It should be. And then from these spreading throughout the body, the 72 channel that is spread out from each of the tips of the 72 channel, 1,000 each spread. So that is why they call it, in the traditional word, they call it ZaChoeje Rinpoche Zanyi. ZaChoeje Rinpoche Zanyi means 72,000 channels. So this is how the channels exist. So 72,000, but that's just kind of, that is why it is not a nerve, it is just the energy channel. The channel that goes, and this is, when all the 72,000 channels sort of like, they gradually formed, okay? They gradually formed, so everything is actually coming from there. And that is why, like sometime in the, it is important to understand the 24 main, right? The 24 main channel at the heart chakra, and then goes up and down all over the body, become a 72,000. So then when it comes to the 24, that's also a very crucial, practice. Because many times, this kind of like in some of the highest yoga tantra, there is a 24 places or location that actually you actually do, all these different 24 channels will become into 24 different deities. Okay, and then the what you call the essence that is inside those channels becomes the the male form of the deity, the channel itself become the. So this is kind of like a. It is important. Just kind of just in the back of your mind, you should know that okay. So if you know this existence of how this channel exists in a way, sort of like a very interesting. And then maybe people might say, why, is there only limited 72,000, only limited 72,000. So that is also, I will say that is just an estimation. But interestingly, there is some kind of like it is associated with the numerology too, which because it is from a numerology point of view, number point of view, somehow it is just kind of like it become a 7 to 2, right? The 72, and 7 plus 2 is a 9, and so somehow from a numerology point of view, 9 is a completion number. So it is somehow it completes. It's a complete sort of. That is why, like sometime maybe we want to know, for the Buddhist mala, why there is 108, right? Why do we have a number like why it is not okay 100? Why it is not okay 101? Why do we put 108 there? So that is also, it answers something there, right? Because just kind of like 108 is, if you put these three number, 8, 0 doesn't count anything, 1, 8 plus 1, which is the 9. So every time you do this, it just kind of makes a complete number. But that's just kind of like I think there are a lot of number associated. So there are so many hidden meanings. There are so many hidden meanings when it talks about the number. So that is why 72,000, 72,000 nerves. And then that's kind of like how the existing heart chakra. So from there, we can know that actually everything, that is coming, it is stemming out of the heart chakra, right? So it is just like energy that is coming from the heart chakra. Then, like one actually energy as it just kind of like the energy channel, when it is formed that way. So then it formed a different, what do you call? Kind of like a different, like sometimes I use the word like a station, energy station, because it just kind of like when it goes up and then it goes on the top, right? And everything sort of like to be able to understand that when the channel went up and down, then there is we need to understand here we need to understand the wind, right? The wind, because when the channel went up and down, so like inside those channels, there's a wind actually comes. So that is why the wind system of the wind, how wind exists, that is another one coming. So the wind exists. The first, channel, how it exists in our heart and how it is formed and how it spread, right? So then the center, like the wind that is associated within our heart chakra is called the Soglung. Sogilung. So means life. So it is lung means kind of force, life energy or life force. That is the so there are like when we are talking, when we are understanding the wind or when we are understanding the lung, there are 5 principal wind. 5 principal wind. It has a different name. So the first primary wind, actually, it is at the heart level. Out of the 5 wind, which wind come first? It's called the wind called the Soglung. Soglung. Soglung means life energy. So that is actually, it makes sense, right? Because that's the beginning of life, right? When the life began, the life energy, that is called the life force wind. So this life force wind, when this life force wind is there with your body, you have a life. When it began, your life began. When this wind go away, then that is called the death. Sort of. So this is like a solong. So that is the life force, life wind, life energy. So then, when it goes up and down, then, like the one energy, sort of like a important part, the wind actually that is on the navel. One is on the bottom, sort of like the base of our kind of chakra. So these two sort of like a chakra formed there. So the navel, there is another sort of like a energy or channel, sort of like a channel starting to spread, because when it goes down, there is another wind, because there's another wind that is forming. And that another wind is called the nyamne. Nyamne means actually, what do you call? Nyamba means sort of like equal. Sort of like equal. Nyamba means, I don't know how do you say, like if you make something, like dividing, or like and you know what that wind actually does in our body or our system is actually it this wind will kind of determine what is good for you and what is not good for you. Sort of like, the sort of this energy is connected. That's, we call it navel area. So in the navel area, if we really look into how our human body is formed, there's like this, all this, liver, kidney and everything. They have an interesting function, right? They have an interesting function of sending the things, good things, nutrition to you. And then, then this wind is this kind of like, we call it nyamne. Nyamne means kind of I don't know exactly word for the nyamne. Nyamba means kind of leveling, level, sort of like, and doing some sort of like, okay, you go up, you go down. So, what's that? Balancing thing. Yeah, I think maybe balancing. So nyamba also means balance. Yeah, thank you. So the nyamba means balance, sort of like a balancing work. Sort of, it does like a lot of balancing thing. And I think that is called the this lung, that energy is called the nyamne kitmung. Okay, and then just kind of the one that goes down, towards the base is called the tursel. That's the name of that wind energy. So tursel means, tur means down. Okay, cell means clearing or releasing, sort of like releasing downward. So this name of this wind, name of that wind or energy is called the tursel. Tursel means, so it is kind of, we can all understand, right? Sort of like it just kind of there's the energy that actually release, the release, that is kind of like a not kind of tursel, downward, going, releasing downward. That is the name of that wind. And then one that goes up, and then at the throat level there is another energy which is called this lung. This energy is called the kengyu. Kengyu lung. Kengyu means actually it is ken means upward, and gyua means kind of flowing, sort of like a flowing upward. And that's the name of that energy, because from this side of the like the throat chakra. So the throat chakra, actually whatever kind of like a energy comes up, so it is just push up, sort of like the energy to flow up, right? To make energy flow up, that is the energy center. So that is why it's called the Kenyu, Lung Kenyu. And then one, goes up, that is the another lung or the wind is called the Kyabje. So the Kyabje actually kind of like the main energy, sort of, we call it, it is located here, but it is actually, Kyabje means sort of like a kind of like a all over. Kyaba means pervade, pervading all over. So that name of that wind is called pervading wind. And in a way, sort of like it just kind of makes sense, because brain is the one that actually, decide, right? All the energy, where it is needed to be sent, and just kind of sort of like that. So that is the Kyabje Lung. But we say the location is here, but somehow it is spreaded all over. And that is the gross one. But the real Kyabje Lung only flow at the time of death only. So that is, that those are the system that of the 5 primary wind or 5 principle, Tsawe Lunga, that is what we call it Tsawe Lunga. Tsawe Lunga is kind of like how it is formed, how it is exist in, within ourselves, like that. So if there are 5 primary wind, then there should be 5 secondary wind too, right? So primary means something primary, principle. So there should be a 5 secondary wind. So there are actually 5 secondary winds also that is kind of came out of this solung, from the heart. So from this 5 secondary wind or energy, and these 5 secondary wind or energy actually kind of goes into 5 different senses. Okay, 5 different senses. So it is just kind of physical senses. So there is like one wind that is mainly sort of like associated with the eyes, and then there is one that is like the wind is called the, that is, kind of, when that wind, that energy comes, it will make our ear consciousness starting to work. And one that is, like make our nose senses to work. And then another, which is kind of like it makes your taste, senses to work. And then another one is just kind of like a physical sensation, right? The physical touch. So these are the 5 wind. And this is also interesting. Each of the 5 secondary wind is named or labeled a little bit interestingly. Its a label is a little bit sort of the first energy, which is associated with the eye senses is called the Lu. The name of that name is Lu. Lu is actually, what is that? Lu is sometimes direct translation of Lu is Naga. But I think it is just kind of the, sometime, like in the original Sanskrit word, it should be a snake, I think. Like the Naga is many times associated with the snake, right? If you look at it, it is very interestingly, they give the name in the ancient text. Why this first wind or the energy is called the Lu, like a snake. It is like when the snake actually coils, right? Like they kind of make it round. And so our outside, how our eyes looks, how our eye looks is, looks like a snake, sort of like a coil, sort of like, round. So this is like, it is talking from a shape, I think. So the energy they mention is a shape like the snake. So like a snake totally sleeping or something like that. That's the name of that wind or energy. And then, just kind of like another one is called the rubel, right? I think Lu, rube. So rube is a kind of a, what do you call? In Tibetan, what do we call it? Zangba. Is it Zangba? I cannot translate sometime. In the reference, what is that say? In you. Lu rubel zangba. Yeah, that's true. Rubel. Rubel means turtle. Turtle. So this secondary wind is called the rubel. Rubel means turtle wind. So it is saying from some kind of animal because of the looks of the animal, I think. So, and that because that energy, secondary wind is associated with our ear sense, and somehow the shape of the ear is kind of like a rebel, like a turtle. So just kind of like they call it like a turtle because the energy, wind is the energy. So each of the, because of the because the energy is like that, then outwardly it form like that kind of image. And then the third wind, secondary wind, is called Lung Zangba. Zangba means a lizard. So now see, it is associated with our nose sense. So I don't know. So nose is looks like an animal like the lizard or no, I don't know. So it is the wind is called the lizard. Okay, so Lu Zangba, no, Lu Rebel Zangba. So that is the name of this three secondary wind. And then the fourth and fifth is a little bit difficult in the Tibetan kind of like a translation, because I think our kind of like the ancestor who did the translator, they put it, they call it, in Tibetan, they call it Lejin. Lejin. So now many times people are actually trying to understand what is Lejin, because the three of them are associated with some animals, right? So then the fourth and fifth should be some animals, right? Because just kind of like we kind of, if the example with the animal form, then the fourth and fifth should be animal. But then here, it just said Lejin. Lejin, if you look into the original Sanskrit word for Lejin, Lejin means Devadat. 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 Devadat, Deva means God, or like a, Deva, like a divine. Dat means given. So God given. So what is that? What is God given? So that is sometime, many times if I try to find out, when I did the research on this, okay, what is that? What is Lejin? It should be some animal. But actually, I came to know, which is very interesting, that they use the word Devadat for, somehow it kind of something that is related to some epic stories of the Mahabharata. In the epic story of the Mahabharata, like like it is a very popular Indian, ancient kind of story, which is kind of like a Bhagavad Gita, and all these things comes from there, right? Mahabharata. So, and there was the story in that epic story. One of the very interesting thing is that they did a big war. It was just kind of war between the family. But it is interesting that so there is a when before they do the war, before they fight or something, the day they fight, they blow some, like what do you call that, conch, right? That's a conch. They blow the conch, and somehow that conch was given by God. So, so then after that, some literature people, they just, because of that name, they used sort of like some sort of like a literature label for all the conch as a legend. All the conch that they are making, So now you can know that is Peijin, means the conch wind, like a wind, conch like wind. So now what is the different, why it is called conch? Like, it is a tongue. And if you really look into the, how that shell, right? It's like a shellfish, right? But it is formed like that. And the being inside there, doesn't it look like a tongue? So that's why the tongue sense. Tongue, it is a tongue sense. So this fourth wind is called conch-like wind. So that is, so I don't know, maybe that is what I found out. And that is exactly, I think, if you look at from any different, because why would they call it Devadatta? Why they call it Devadatta for this wind? So this is something, from, I found it from my research, but I couldn't find it anywhere in the many Tibetan translation. I just kind of, maybe it was lack of my ability, maybe I didn't find. So I have to use a different method, instead of going into the thing, I have to use different method. What kind of animal is called the, Devadatta? Who is Devadatta? Devadatta is a name, because maybe in the famous Buddhist story, Devadatta is the name of the Buddha's cousin, right? The Buddha cousin who was a troublemaker, right? And Devadatta, legend, he was always making trouble because of the jealousy. His main issue was jealousy, because they are from a same family, and then like Buddha was like the Prince Siddhartha was so sort of like doing everything sort of like properly, and then like he wants that kind of power and attention, I guess. And then like there's a story like Devadatta, if you are familiar with the traditional Buddhist story of Buddha's life, then you will not like Devadatta. Many times people consider Devadatta as a demon. But I think I have a little different take, on Devadatta, actually. Devadatta really did good to, actually make us understand more who Buddha was, as a person. Because of his challenge, he gave the Buddha challenge. And so we will learn so many things about, when like such a difficult person like Devadatta challenging Buddha, and how did Buddha respond to that? How did he did? What he did? Did he actually, did he really, just kind of use the violence? He didn't use the violence, right? So this is, there is some interesting thing that I really learned from, what Devadatta did to Buddha. And I think we can even learn something from how Buddha actually did. And that's kind of like in our day-to-day life. We face so many difficult people, right? So when we face difficult people, you should always remember, okay, how did, if I am in that, if I am in the state of Buddha, as Prince Siddhartha, what will Buddha do? What will Prince Siddhartha do? And so we can learn something from there. And then another thing, which is also very maybe useful because of the difficult situations, right? Like these days, we have so many, what do you call, social, political problems. And so as a spiritual practitioner, sometimes we want to know, how can I deal with that? How can I deal with some people's, I don't, agree with their, what do you call, I don't agree with their, what do you call, the action. And sometimes, many times, I also give people advice, sort of like, don't take it personal. There are so many meanings for doing, like, not taking things personally. Because taking things personally means sort of like, if somebody is doing something and you just don't like their action, so you actually sort of like, go against that action, okay, but don't go against that person. And you put a little thin line there, right? That's difficult, because for us, as soon as we go against their action, we go against that person, right? That's just kind of, and we say something bad about that action the person did, and then the other person also take it like, okay, he or she doesn't like me, and we also kind of make it like, so there's a very interesting Buddha's way. Buddha never stopped loving Devadatta. Buddha never stopped loving. He always, and that is, he said, I love him, but I don't like some of his actions. See, now this is a very interesting way to apply, to learn, like if we can actually sort of like race against the action of an individual and still keep that sort of like a, what do you call, concern for that person, and then maybe we can find some middle way. Because the action part, of course, there are some people do action and we don't agree with that action, but do you kind of take that person action and that person totally same, then that is our misunderstanding, right? That person is not totally that action that's coming from that person. So this is there is some lesson that we can learn from Buddha, how he deal with the Devadatta. It's just a side track. because I saw this word Devadatta, then I remember Devadatta. So anyway, Devadatta is the name of that, the name of the fourth wind is called Devadatta. In Tibetan, we call it Lejin. So that is the conch. Okay, so the conch, like wind, secondary wind. Then the fifth one, another difficult one, Shulegyel, Tibetan, and sometimes they call it Norgyel. That's another difficult word to understand. Maybe this is some literature, poetry name, So that's, again, it's something to do with the poetry. It's like poetry or epic stories or something like that. So which animal they are actually saying is this animal, the wind, the fifth, secondary wind is actually mongoose. Mongoose. Why it is called Norgyel? Conquering the, Nor means jewel. Okay, conquering the jewel. So now nobody will actually understand what is meant by conquering the jewel. Who is the animal that is conquering the jewel, right? So that is, again, we have to go into a little bit of different stories, epic stories. In ancient Indian epic stories, there is like a mani, which is the jewel, is protected by the snake, right? The protected by snake. And you can actually, that's a symbolic meaning too, right? Many times, if you have a sort of like, if you have a wealth, then our greed will become like a snake. You will just coil around it and then protect, So that is the image of it's just epic stories. But in that epic story, how come the mongoose? It's called the conquering the jewel, which is, there is a story that the cobra, the snake, is actually sort of like the opponent of the snake is the mongoose. So somehow the mongoose can fight with the cobra or the snake, and they will always win. So the mongoose always win. So the winner, the conqueror of the jewel. So that is actually the lung called the mongoose. An animal looks like a mongoose. Okay, so that is the Norlegil. So anyway, so this is the system of the wind. So now you can actually understand the 5 principal wind and the 5 secondary winds. And the function of the 5 principal wind is like, how I mentioned, and the 5 secondary wind also I mentioned with the 5 senses, right? See, now the channel exists that way, and the wind exists like that. So the wind actually flow within that channels, within the channel, and somehow kind of like the Tsa Lung, right? This is like the channel and the wind and the chakra, how it is formed. And again, the chakra, like when the chakra formed, like when one goes up, one goes down, right? Then each of the chakras actually have a different stem number. So they call it like a lotus petal. So it is kind of like when it goes into the throat, so it forms the throat chakra. So the throat chakra is kind of like the main, sort of like the, how it is spread. It is like the 16th petal. So this is, throat chakra has a 16 petal. So now you can actually look at this, the one that you have, this illusory, this, in this illustration, you see the 3 channels goes up and down, right? And then when it goes to the throat section, so this stem, the 16 stem, or the 16 branches, sort of like there's an energy channel. And so how it is also formed is also, it forms sort of like upward, like umbrella upward, okay? And then it goes up, and that actually become a 32, okay? 32 on the crown, 32 sort of like a petals or branches. So the main 32 sort of. And then when it goes down towards the navel, so the navel chakra, you can actually see, right? The heart chakra is kind of like an umbrella like this, and the navel chakra is a sort of like upward, umbrella upward kind of thing. And the navel has a 64, right? The 64 channel. And then it goes down to the base chakra, and the base chakra actually sort of like many times we say it is 8 chakra, right? The eight petal. But interestingly, like when the chakras are like sort of spread out, like in the many Tibetan texts in the highest Yoga Tantra, they don't talk too much about the 5 chakras. They always talk about 4 chakra. Sasum Koloshi, that's what always say. Sasum means the 3 channel, and Kolo means the chakra. Shi means 4. not 5. But actually, sort of like in some texts, actually, it mentioned 5. Sometimes it mentions 7. So the 7, sort of like when it is 7, then it's one more chakra is just kind of between your eyebrow. That's just kind of that area. The crown is more sort of like up top, right? Top, and then just kind of on the level of your eyebrows, right? On the level of your eyebrow. Sometimes people want to think third eye, but that's also, third eye is also, little bit mythical thing. Sometimes people like to have a third eye. I always say, there's this in some tanka with some deities, yes, there are third eyes, but as a human, if we have a third eye, that will be awkward. How this eye looks, what does that eye see? With these 2 eyes, if you put it this way, it will see different. If we put this way, so anyway, it's not a physical, it's a symbol, something that your 2 physical eyes don't see, something beyond. So that means beyond what you see, so that is why third eye means wisdom in a way. Actually, it is a symbolic of, like when we put a deity with a third eye, so it means that they have a wisdom. So that is so don't think that, you don't have to, take out or print some, like don't put a tattoo third eyes here, or you can, I don't know, you can say your choice, right? But anyway, this crown, then on the eyebrow level, the chakra, that is so if you make it 7, then when it goes down to the base, so it is just kind of like the base chakra and the tip of the base, tip of the base, sort of like a chakra. So then it become like a, one from the 5 main chakra, like a 1 from the down, 1 stem out, 1 from the up. There's, you can make. So that makes it, maybe many of you are familiar with the 7 chakras, right? So like you can see in many, like in the yoga, like they use a lot of 7 chakra. But I think when you talk about the 5 main wind energy, then it is a 5 sort of like a main chakra. So this is sort of like how the chakras are, the system of the chakra exists in us, and how the wind flow in those chakras. So I think that is the system of channels and chakra. Yes, yeah. Real. I think that's, we cannot say the physical. That's why it is not a nerve. Channels are not nerves. So nerve and channel are 2 different things. Because the nerves is like where the physical blood flows, right? The channel is the energy flows. No, yeah, you cannot see it with, with the channel. So that's why it exists as an energy channel. So, so for example, you cannot, you can feel the energy, but you cannot see the energy, right? Energy doesn't have the color or anything. But, so that's why just kind of like that's why it's called the energy channel. The channel means energy channel, the pathway. So the wind also sort of like not a basic, the wind, like, not the ordinary wind. I think it is the movement. There's some kind of like a movement or force. Force is maybe a good word here, like some sort of like a force that exists in it. And then, sort of like with that force, the people used to, what happened is kind of like if like we will feel sort of like, if you understand how this actually exists, so then kind of like sometimes we can use it not for the tantric meditation, but just kind of like in the basic meditation. In the basic meditation, sort of like when, like mindfulness of your body. So it's just kind of like you can actually go a little bit more deeper than just the gross body. So I think sometime when you actually apply the mindfulness meditation, and many times we don't even feel it. We don't feel it. It is the whole channels and the energies and everything is there, but we are like our mind is so gross that it only connect with the very gross level. It doesn't go and connect with the subtle level, but somehow it is always there. It's always there. It exists in us. It exists in us. So that's kind of like when we actually sort of like understand this system, what happened is sometimes, just kind of like we can kind of like on a very gross level, we can actually balance it. That's kind of like just kind of, if we want to use it for some kind of like a basic health reason, I think, that is what the acupuncturists and the, the Ayurvedic medicines, they are doing from the health level. But it's not limited to that. There is actually more. You can, once you know the system, how it exists, actually you can use it for much more bigger purpose. Just kind of like it's somehow, it will also help us to understand how precious this life is. This kind of like because when we understand this, the preciousness, the value, right? The value of our life. And that is why, like from the beginning of the Lamrim, it always talk about the preciousness, human life, right? Precious human life. And somehow, like when we understand, when we actually see this system that exists in us, that we can actually use it, then, what happens is we will get some sort of like a motivation, some sort of like inspiration, just kind of, I have so many beautiful energy that exist in me. Why would just I waste it for some like mundane, right? Why would I use just it for, yelling at someone, right? So it's just kind of like, we have so much energy. It just, I will make a better use of it. That's what the motivation we should get by understanding this. That's, it is not just like oh, I know now the system of the chakra and how the energy, but this like it is just kind of like going more into sort of like understanding that there are so much possibilities, this so much possibilities, and that is a sort of like it is in this illustration is actually good. But then, another day I had a question, from Arnie, who printed this. So, regular, I think, right? Saying that should we visualize or think about our, energy exactly like how this is written? Then I said, no, this is just an illustration. I give it, maybe it will be helpful for you, some of you, maybe what I answer is I said to them, I said, kind of like if I say there's Sedona exists or Flagstaff exists, right? And then, somebody is showing you a map, or in the, in the phone, or in the, in your tablet, or in your paper, like say, hey, this is Flagstaff, this is Sedona, and you take this road, and then you will, before you get to Sedona, you will get to, before you get to Sedona, you will see this, number of them, road, and then after that, after if you really want to go to Flagstaff, then you will go through that road that is passing the Sedona, highway. Like if someone give you this map like that, how would you imagine? How would you use it? You will use that as a map, but you will not exactly imagine exactly like that, right? It is a reference. So that is also important to understand, because some of you might be a practitioner, because many times when you're practicing or visualizing, and then you might be looking at the tanka, right? You might be looking at the tanka, or you might be looking at some books, okay, so you have to visualize this deity, and now I have to exactly look like that. And I'm going to visualize. So are you going to visualize exactly like it is painted, or in the painting, or in the statue? No, that's just a reference, right? Just think of like that. When you used to go, like in our real kind of realistic term, that when you want to go to Sedona, someone show you a map how to get there, you use that as a reference, but you don't think of the, like the Sedona exactly look like that map. Right? It doesn't look like that map. It's just an illustration. So that is what many times in your practice also, when when it says identify yourself as a deity, you don't have to look exactly like the painting. Painting is just someone's kind of like their imagination put it, right? And so it doesn't mean that, you have to visualize exactly like that. You can just kind of like when you are visualizing, when you are actually identifying yourself as a deity, you can put, there's so many, what do you call, freedom. Freedom, just kind of like, just you can visualize, you can identify, like say, for example, if you are like visualizing as a divine, like a green Tara, then, like okay, now I will visualize myself as this, divine green Tara. And then, how would I be like a green Tara? So then, not like this ordinary body with the flesh and bone and, things like that. It's just maybe it's energy, right? It's just a form, and just, figure, enlightened figure. And not only that, sometimes it is helpful for you to practice, like how, like I kind of identify myself as this divine deity. So this divine deity that I am identifying, what is the emotion level of that deity? What is the compassion level of that deity? What is the wisdom level of that deity? What is the patient level of that deity? See, these are the lot of things, So now it is not just stuck with the physical appearance. Sometimes we just kind of think that, oh, meditation, like sometimes I just visualize, and then, kind of you stuck with the physical appearance only. The physical appearance is just, what do you call, surface, surface of the iceberg. just a little, but the deeper is more like you lift your spirit, sort of identifying yourself as a, this kind of like your compassion level is so unconditional. Your loving, level is so unconditional. So these are the things that you actually identify. Then your practice is different. So it's just kind of like you are more sort of like practicing, you are identifying yourself as a deity, but not only from a physical level, from your emotional level, from your mental level, from your energy level, from your, just kind of. So this identification becoming more and more sacred to you as you practice. It's just kind of like and then it will sort of like it is not just trying to visualize cat as a tiger. Right? Just sometimes, like no matter how hard you try to visualize your cat as a tiger, that he will never become a tiger. Right? So that's practice is not like that. So that's why sometimes use the practice like, so that is why understanding the system of your channel and chakras, and then you might be able to the more actually you become sort of like aware of, okay, so there is even though you don't see it, but just kind of like if you become more aware of this, okay, there is no matter what, I have this channel, I have this chakra exist in me, and just kind of the more sort of like you become, what do you call, aware, or something that yes, I do have that. So just kind of like that will make you little bit sort of like a more open, I guess. More open, not like a, not so much sort of like a, we use so much of our energy just trying to put ourselves down, right? Just kind of the, like we always try to look down at ourselves. That's just kind of, there's a one very big obstacle that is in our life, that we are always looking outward. I want to become like that, no matter how much good physical condition you have. Human has that problem. We are always looking outward. I want to be like that. I want to be like that. Sort of like we never sort of like looking at, okay, this is actually, I'm good. I have this really, whatever I got it. So just kind of, we don't live with that satisfaction, right? It's just kind of like a, in this, especially in this day and age, we are always looking outward, seeing, oh, so and so has this, and then the kind of like fixing your physical, what do you call, look. We spend a lot on just looks, not from the core, right? Not really from the core, and not understanding how beautiful energy that we are carrying around, right? This is the, I think the benefit of understanding how this system that exists in us. So that is just the beginning. Just the beginning of understanding that once you understand that system and channels and chakra, and that is why today we did this workshop. So I hope that it will be helpful for you to understand the basic systems of the channels and chakra. Yes, yeah. Indestructible drop is just it is there. No, it doesn't matter whether we understand or not. Just it is there. We just because and that is a very subtle. That's a very subtle that just kind of like a it's like a what do you call, uh, like our Buddha nature exists in there. So that is our ultimate sort of like a, what do you call, essence. Ultimate essence, sort of like, so there's something that come from the past life, and this life we still have it, and then from this next life, from the limitless life, from the beginning lives to endless life. Just that is why it is called the indestructible. So it is always there. It's indestructible. Nothing can destroy it. Nothing can. So that is a mishikpa. Mishikpa means it is not, cannot be damaged. So that's that sort of like, in another words, maybe it is pure. So that's sometimes, so it is a pure quality of yours. So that is also, the more that you understand, so that, sort of source of our being, the source of our being, which is totally pure, and that is kind of like also reason that we all have a Buddha nature. Another reason. So there are many reasons. So it is one of the reasons. Yeah. All right. So I think we are running out of time, and I think it is just today systems of the channel and chakra. Very brief explanation and presentation. So take this and then use it. It depends on different individual. If you have a more practice, then you will be more helpful. And just kind of generally, you will have it also. So you can. It is the beginning of the understanding, and then you can actually go and explore more, because there are so many informations exist and you can read. So just kind of base that understanding on that, and then you will actually know more and more like that. All right. So thank you all very much. Yeah. Okay. Okay.